Without any further ado, what I would like to do is introduce our president, who will give her remarks and introduce our guests, Deb Fisher of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Real Estate Group. Here we go.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, and thank you so much for coming out today. It's thrilling to see the size of a crowd, and I have to say we're really, really excited at the Chamber because things are going kind of gangbusters. So, and that's all because of all of you and the participation and the ideas and the energy and everything else everybody's bringing to it. So please keep it coming. If you have any ideas for us, you know, get in touch with me, get in touch with Joanna, with Steph, with Mary. We've got a marvelous staff working really hard to do what we can to help you. So I think it's working. So anyway, thanks so much for coming out. And now it is my pleasure to introduce our two speakers today. So Dr. Naomi Parrella specializes in educating patients and physicians on the importance of lifestyle medicine as an essential element of good health and well-being. And Dr. Jeffrey Damasche received his BS in physical therapy from the University of Texas Medical Branch. So I'm pleased to introduce the two of you. Well qualified.
All right, so as you know, I'm a family physician, and as a family physician, I sometimes have a new patient who's sitting in front of me, and after initial greetings, I look down at the chart, and I'm like, what? There must be some mistake. This says you're 98 years old. And they look back at me, and they're like, yeah, that's me. I'm thinking, I should be seeing you. You should be teaching me what's going on. And I learn a lot from my patients that way. So I have the privilege of hearing and seeing the stories of multiple generations of individuals and families from birth to grave. That's what I do as a family physician. This allows me to recognize the patterns of habits, thinking, and behavior that impact wellness and longevity. One thing that I've learned is that there are distinct differences between those who age successfully and those who do not. As successful business leaders, we know that the success of a business requires strategic planning, it requires constant reevaluation and adjustments, and it requires commitment. And believe it or not, strategic planning, constant reevaluation and adjustments, and commitment are also key to promoting wellness and longevity throughout your entire life. So today, I want us all to be on the same page as to what wellness, longevity, and peak performance means. So I've put these two pictures, and if any of you have heard of Dan Buettner, who's a National Geographic journalist who went around the world to the blue zones. This is places where people live a really long time, really healthy. You've heard him speak about this cute little old lady here, right? And I'm going to talk about what he's done. So he went around to try and find the secrets of longevity in these blue zones. And one of the places, which is a blue zone, is Okinawa. They have the highest percentage of centenarians in the world. And they all look pretty good, all right? This woman, Kamada-san, she's 102 years old. So cool, all right? And so he was sitting with her and he says, Kamada-san, what is the secret to longevity? And she says, ikigai. Ikigai means sense of purpose or meaning in life. And he says, well, Kamada-san, what is your ikigai? What's your sense of purpose? And she reaches down and picks up this cute little great-great-great-granddaughter and holds her. Now, these two are 101 years apart in age. Okay, so cool. And he says, Kamada-san, what does it feel like to hold a descendant more than a century younger than you? And she says, like leaping into heaven. And you can see that on her face. So I just love that story. But then here's another person. Now this is not actually my patient, okay? It's a picture I picked out of Google. When I typed in centenarian, this picture came up, so I plucked it off. But it represents a patient of mine, and I'm going to change the name, of course. So this is Joe. He's 93 years old. And he's the ideal, okay? So he wakes up in the morning with the sun coming up. He has a cup of coffee, breakfast, reads the paper with his wife. Then he spends some time outdoors. He goes and visits with friends, sees some family, comes home for dinner. They have sex, they go to bed. And the only difference on the last day of his life is that he doesn't wake up. He passes peacefully in his sleep. He doesn't have months and years of disability, disease, chronic doctor's visits. He's been active with his cognition intact. He's been able to be connected and contributing until the very end of his life. And that's the ideal. That's what we can all aspire to. I know a lot of people have pictures of what they don't want as they age, but this is a picture of what we do want as we age. So now I'm going to pass this on to Jeff.
So when we're looking at these images, I have a contrasting image for you. So if we think about lifestyle choices and giving our employees and giving our organizations choices in lifestyle, you know, we have that opportunity to provide that. When you look at these images, what are the costs? I'm going to talk to you. Is that okay? Will people talk back or just kind of look at me? Be like my class where they just kind of stare at me. So what are some costs that are going to happen here? What are some costs? Healthcare costs, right? Insurance, there's going to be financial. But it's not just financial, right? It's quality of life. What sort of quality of life does our patient over there on your right have? She's intubated. She has Foley catheter. She can't stand. She has to use a walker to stand. So we have to think about what are the choices that we're going to make, right? And what are the choices that we're going to give to the individuals that we work with and work for us. If we just focus on obesity alone, right now, right, we have 68.9% of Americans that are obese or overweight. I mean, that's a huge number, and that's costing billions of dollars, all right? That's costing billions of dollars. It's also costing us in chronic disease. So conditions like heart disease, cancer, stroke, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity and arthritis. These are all costing our workers jobs, right? And they're decreasing the productivity that they have.
Right. Okay. So anybody who tells you there's such a thing as anti-aging, that just doesn't exist, okay? So aging is natural. What they're really trying to say is how we age is a choice. Okay, and you can plan for it, just like you plan for retirement. Plan for your health in retirement so you can actually enjoy that time, right? So some key points that come up chronically in my practice, okay, when I talk to people. So I just want to throw these out there. So number one, we now really do have a pretty good idea of the keys to wellness and longevity from studying the blue zones and other places where people have figured it out. And the key is nutrition and lifestyle makes a difference. Absolutely makes a difference. Number two, physician researchers like Dean Ornish, you may have heard about, Terry Walls, Caldwell Esselstyn. There's a bunch of physician researchers who've demonstrated that many chronic diseases not only could be prevented, but if you had them, you could reverse them. Okay, this is stuff I didn't even hear about in med school. Right? Nobody told me I could reverse disease. In fact, Dean Ornish has shown that at any age, regardless of your health, you can make some changes to your lifestyle and nutrition that will directly impact your chronic diseases and your potential other diseases you could catch. Number three, a lot of people say to me, Doc, it's my genes. Everybody in my family just has bad health. I'm like, it's not only your genes, okay? Genes are not your fate, all right? This is important to understand because while genes put you at higher risk, your nutrition and lifestyle actually affects which genes get turned on and off. That's why even if you had the breast cancer gene, it's not 100% you're gonna get breast cancer, right? What about those other people, okay? Now, the fourth thing, which I think is super exciting, is, again, Dan Buettner, who discovered the secrets that he recognized common to all the blue zones. He actually turned around and said, I wonder if I could implement those things into non-blue zones and turn that community into a blue zone. And he's demonstrated he can. So you can go to his website, actually. I get no royalties or anything, but you can see he has a team that communities hire to come out and figure out how to set up the system so that the people that live there start changing their lifestyle and they get healthier, and they have data to show that. It's really exciting. So I'm a family doc with a specialty in weight management and lifestyle medicine. I'm not here to sell anything today. I'm really here to educate. This is what I do. So what are our goals today? Basically, really what we all want this wellness, longevity, and peak performance until the end. We want to live better while we're living, and we want longer disability-free years. We're all can-do people, and we really don't want those limits. We want to be able to continue to do things. So our overview today, we're going to talk about why invest in wellness. We're going to talk about how to plan for and achieve wellness and longevity, both as individuals, what you can do yourself, and what you can do to set up the system that way. And then we'll end with a summary.
So like Naomi said, we really want to give you some takeaways today, some things that you can take. I mean, we could talk about this probably for, all day, but we have a limited amount of time. So we really want to give you some ideas both for your organization and then for yourself, and things that you can take away from this presentation that we're doing. So why the workplace? We're thinking about environment, right? So what sorts of environment do we have at the workplace? Well, we can see, right, that people are tending to spend more and more time at work. About a third, right, or sometimes even more of their day is spent at work. The other thing is most of the jobs that people are doing, what are they doing? Sitting, right? They're sitting, okay? And yeah, we have you sitting here. We should probably have you get up and do some jumping jacks, right, and that sort of thing. But yeah, most of the work, right, that we are involved in is sedentary. And what's happening is, again, we're seeing these chronic disease processes occurring, all right? We see, it says nearly 2/3. Actually, it's now over 2/3. When I looked up, the last statistic, it was 68.9% are either overweight or obese. And again, this is costing, right, both our employees, and it's also costing our organizations. And we can see some of, the different healthcare costs, some of the statistics that are out there. And like I said, the obesity costs are just $147 billion per year in itself. So that's not taking into effect heart disease, type 2 diabetes, right, all those other things. So if we're talking about workplace wellness, what are the benefits for the employers? So if you're an employer, what are the benefits of implementing some sort of wellness program at your workplace? Higher productivity. Okay, good, excellent. Less stress. Less sick days, absenteeism, right? So we all know, right? We've seen the articles, we've seen, read the newspaper articles, seen journal articles, those sorts of things, right? There's a variety, right, of potential benefits that occur when we implement workplace wellness programs, all right? And again, we see the money, right? We kind of, right, we always want to see what's our return on investment. If I invest this, how much money am I going to get back? But it's bigger than that. All right, it's bigger than that. And the other thing is, it's going to take some time. If you do implement a workplace wellness, you're not going to see results in 3 weeks, okay? You're not going to see them in a year. You're going to see them in about 3, 4, 5 years, all right? It's going to take some time. So we have these benefits for our employers. Do the employees get any benefits? What do they get? They're healthier, right? So if they're healthier, what happens? Where don't they have to go? Yeah, they don't have to use their insurance, right? They don't have to do their co-pays, all right? They're much happier, right? So again, we have these variety of individual benefits, all right, that we see. And it's not just physical, right? There's mental benefits that occur. There could be spiritual benefits. There could be financial benefits. And wellness, right, just isn't physical and mental, right? It's a variety of different things. But we see, right, these benefits. The other thing that we can do is work in, right, our safety, If we have programs, or if we have jobs that involve safety sorts of situations and those lifting, right, prolonged sitting, getting into difficult positions, right, we can work our safety and ergonomics into this safer environment. So again, we're talking about environments. So if you're thinking about implementing a workplace wellness program, there are some pillars, right, that can assist you. And again, there's a lot of references, a lot of free references out there, and we'll talk about those at the end. But to get something implemented, remember, we want to start small, right? You're going to see, a comprehensive program has 8 different things involved, but we can start small. That's the best way to start. But what you want is, of course, leadership, right? Anything that we implement, anything that we do, we have to have leadership support of those things that we do. And also our stakeholders, right? We can't forget about the stakeholders. And then when we're talking about leadership, we really want to look for wellness champions, all right? You want to find those people are out there. So at Rosalind Franklin, when we started our program about 3 years ago, all right, it was myself, it was a psychologist, and it was a physician assistant faculty member, and we don't get paid, all right? We don't get extra pay for initiating this program. And we did it because we wanted to create a culture of wellness for our students, faculty, and staff at our university. Alignment. So again, you want that wellness program to be an extension of who you are as an organization, right? So you want that program to align with your values, right, with your mission, with your vision. Scope, relevance, and quality. Of course, right, we don't want a narrow focus. We may start out small, right, but we gradually want to build that focus, increase that focus, I'm sorry. We want it relevant, right? We want good information. We want to provide credible information to our employees. Accessibility. So we have to realize that not everybody's going to participate, right? I have some students who do these wellness sorts of events, and they said, I did my event, and 10 people showed up. And I'm like, that's 10 people that didn't get the information that you provided, right? We have to be realistic, right? Not everybody's ready for change, okay? And so we're not going to get everybody flocking to our programs. But even if there's one person there, right, we've done something within our program. We want to look at internal and external partnerships. So we want to develop partnerships. So there's a lot of people here, right, that we as workplaces can partner with and work out different aspects of wellness within our programs. And then communication. So we want to brand that wellness program. We want to see a logo for that. So every time somebody sees a flyer or a brochure or an email, they say, oh, that's the wellness thing. All right, so we want to market it, and we want that message to fit, right, the audience that we intend it to fit. All right, so when we're talking about, kind of starting, so just some elements of a comprehensive sort of program. Again, so this is basics, right? So health education. So we want to do some sort of education. And again, education varies. It can be just awareness, right? We can put posters up about, are you sitting too much, right? Get up and move, all right? Those sorts of things. And just getting our employees aware of what's going on. Then we could do some sorts of educational things like lunch and learns, okay? We can do lectures. We can do brown bag lunches, all right? We can have tables out and give educational information. And then we can do kind of the more expensive and limited sorts of things like interventions. We could do an 8-week workout, learn how to exercise program. We could do a tobacco cessation program. It's going to be less people, right? They're going to be more involved, and it's going to take a little bit more of financial cost to do that. We want to support. So again, we talk about the environment, right? So we want to facilitate and promote a positive environment within the workplace. We want to integrate programs into the benefits program, right? And then we want to look at links between what we're doing, in safety, what we're doing to promote health, those sorts of things, and we want to link those and integrate those together. And then lastly, right, a lot of us maybe get to, they say, go get your cholesterol checked and you get a $50 gift card, right? Or you get, $100 off your insurance or something like that. But it's not just about the number, right? So you get your number, and it says, cholesterol 200, HDLs 35, LDLs 25, and you're like, okay, I got my numbers, got my gift card, gonna go to Kittles, get my new shoes, all right? So we have to educate, right? We have to counsel, we have to tell people what these numbers mean and where they're at, what their risk is, right? And then if they're not where they wanna be, we have to provide them education on how to get right where they wanna be. And then when we're talking about more about this worksite wellness, we're talking about components of the wellness program. So again, right, big list. Oh my gosh, I got to do all that? No, all right? You don't have to do all that. There's a lot of things on that list, but really, you can start with one. Physical activity may be a place to start with your program, all right? We're gonna actually talk today about those top 3. So you'll get some ideas on what you could do, what you could implement related to physical activity, related to nutrition, and related to relaxation and stress management. Again, right, you can see how it just kind of builds and the program builds, but if you do want a comprehensive program, it would include these aspects. So again, we're gonna move now into some of these components, and we're gonna talk a little bit, I'm gonna start out talking about physical activity, and then Naomi's gonna talk about nutrition and relaxation. So again, what we wanna do is provide you some giveaways, all right? Some takeaways, not giveaways, of what you can bring back with you. And what we wanna remember is that physical activity is kind of the gateway to wellness, all right? That may be my bias. All right, physical therapist, physical activity, right? I like the physical stuff, but a lot of the literature notes that, this is a great place to start. We see that little poster kind of thing, that's right from the American Heart Association, right? Free, okay? Free stuff, you can reproduce it all you want, you can make big posters, little posters, all right? You can send it out in emails. But it's just a way, right, of telling people. So how much physical activity, minimum, do we have to have, should we have? How many minutes a week? Moderate? That's low, but good. 30 minutes, 5 times a week, okay? 150 minutes, that's minimum, okay? That's minimum, all right? If we want greater health benefits, right, then we have to do a little bit more, and you can kind of see that at the bottom. If you're doing higher intensity sorts of things, all right, then it's less, right? It's about 75 minutes per week. But remember, this is minimum. But what happens with our employees? What do they say? I don't have time, okay? I don't have time, all right? So there are some solutions to that, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But the other thing is we want to be able to, right, increase this activity in small amounts. What the research says is if people start moving a little bit, right, it grows, okay? It grows, it grows, it grows. So we're talking about, right, kind of a comprehensive program. If we're talking about the 3 aspects of a physical activity program, we're talking about the aerobic activity, so that 150 minutes per week. And then we're talking about strengthening or resistance training. All right, this is to keep our muscles strong, right? It's to keep our bones dense. It keeps our body fat down, right? Which helps us metabolize faster, all right? So there's great benefits. A lot of people say, well, I got my running in, I got my cardio in, right? I say, what about your strength training? Well, I don't want to end up like you, how huge you are, right? No. Before I started teaching. No, right? Right? I don't want to be bulky. Okay, well, when you're doing minimum 2 times a week, right? 8 to 10 repetitions, working on your, 8 to 10 exercises, 8 to 12 repetitions for 2 sets. That's about 20 minutes of activity, right? A couple times a week. So it doesn't take a lot. Again, it doesn't have to be in the gym either, right? It can be at home. It can be using, right, the resistance band. Okay, they have these TRX things that you can hang in the garage and rings and all these sorts of things, home weights, those sorts of things. And then the last, again, too, about strengthening, if we're getting older, right, we're all getting a little bit older, right, balance and falls, right? So if you do lower extremity strengthening, it's shown that it decreases falls, all right, in the elderly, in older. I don't want to say elderly, older people. And then the last thing is flexibility. So that last component, right, is we want to maintain our range of motion, right? We don't want to be losing that range of motion, not being able to sit on that low couch, you know, at our kids' dorm room, that futon, and then not being able to get up, right? So we want to do some stretching activities, you know, slow stretching, not bouncing. Yoga and Pilates are some really great ways to do some stretching. Again, you want to, you know, hold a stretch about 30 seconds, do 3 to 5 repetitions, and about 3 times per week. So when we're talking about physical activity and talking kind of about the system, right, about the system or about the organization, all employees' overall level of physical activity is strongly influenced by their workplace environment. So if they have all their supplies at their desk, guess what? They don't have to get up, right? If you put supplies in a central area, okay, they have to get up and move a little bit. You know, I had a boss at one time who said, well, if you're not sitting at your desk, you're not working, right? Okay, we know that's not true, right? People develop ideas while they're walking. I develop my best ideas on the elliptical or while I'm running, okay? I have to carry sometimes a pen and paper with me so I can write down my ideas, because sometimes I don't remember them after I'm done working out. But yeah, some of our best ideas, right? Some of the creativity. So there are different things that we can do, right? So get over people, right, having to sit at their desk and be productive. Do different challenges, walking challenges, right? Walking clubs, give out pedometers, okay? Have meetings, have walking meetings. Actually get together with small groups, right? You're not going to do this with 15 people, but have a walking meeting. Use stairs. So we started doing stairwells, putting signs up by the elevator, you know, that say, you know, save energy, burn calories. So we started putting them all about, but using the stair, having challenges, do the alternative workstations, so the varied desks, right, standing desks, walking desks, those sorts of things. Safe spaces for physical activity. Doing some subsidizing of programs like Weight Watchers, mindfulness meditation, those sorts of things. You know, you pay half and the employee pays half. And then policies. Policies are really important. A lot of organizations are implementing 30 minutes during the day, okay, 3 times a week. It's not time off, it's not flex time, where they can actually work out. It's using flex time, though, as another option, right? They can come in early, come in late. And then also incentives, or creating incentives or rewards for working out. And then some restrictive policies are, you know, if somebody has to dress like this every day, right, they may not be motivated to move as much, to go out for a walk, those sorts of things. So strict dress codes, on site at all times, and then having mandatory lunchtime meetings really does that.
All right, so you can tell today we're focusing on 3 essential pillars of wellness, common to the consistent research on longevity, prevention, and reversing disease. Physical activity, you'll see, spans both. Nutrition and relaxation. So Jeff has explained the reasons we should all invest in wellness and the recommendations regarding physical activity. You can see that physical activity spans the body and mind. So I just want to explain this because this makes it really easy to get motivated to exercise and be active. The brain has 3 parts, and basically you could peel them apart, all right? And the center most primitive part, which we share with all other animals, is the primitive brain, and that's the brain that responds to signals, and it tells your body what it needs to do. These are the things that it responds reflexively: breathing, metabolism, eating, rebuilding, repair. And that part of your body responds to physical activity as a message that you need to stick around, all right? That you matter, that your body needs to continue to repair and rebuild, and it doesn't have time to start decaying and going to sleep, okay? So physical activity is the strongest signal to that part of your brain that you need to keep living, and that's the key. So it spans both the body and mind. For your body to be able to get that signal and actually implement it, it needs nutrition. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. So people come to me with all sorts of questions about nutrition, but I'm going to give you the one key point for weight management. okay? I used to be a personal trainer and aerobics instructor, and for over 20 years, I was taking care of people. This was even before med school. I was taking care of people and telling people, eat less, exercise more. How many of you heard that, right? And what do you think my success rate was with long-term weight management and maintenance? 0. Okay, so some of you may appreciate this if you've tried this, all right? Eat less, exercise more wasn't working. So my colleagues said, your people are all lying to you. They're really not doing what you're saying. But my people were all saying, yeah, I am doing exactly what you said. So I said, either my information is amazing and they're all lying to me, or my information sucks and I need to go back and figure it out. So I returned to the literature, but this time I looked at literature around the world and I learned something new. So that's what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to give you a quick 5 rules for individuals and 5 tips for systems. So first, you got to understand how starchy carbs and sugars work because they are toxic. All right, so once you understand this, you don't need a diet plan anymore. This explains your expanding waistline, your patients' expanding waistlines, friends, whatever, okay? And they'll think you're a genius. All right, normal sugar. So everybody needs sugar in their blood for energy. How much sugar do you think you need in your blood if you were using kitchen table measures? How much sugar is needed in your blood for you to have enough energy to repair, rebuild, do everything you do? Throw out some numbers. 2 tablespoons. It's actually 1 teaspoon, all right? 1 teaspoon of sugar, a little sugar packet, that's all you need, right? That's pretty cool. Our body's so efficient, okay? Not cool with what we're putting in our body, all right? How much sugar would be in your blood for a diagnosis of diabetes? And remember, diabetes means your sugar is too high, it's actually poisoning the cells in your body, every cell in your body. How much, if 1 teaspoon is good, how much would be toxic? Diabetes. It's 1 1/4 teaspoons. Blow my mind, right? Like, that's insane. It's such a small amount. If it was spilled on the table, you would not even notice the difference between the 1 teaspoon and 1 1/4. But for your body, 1 1/4 teaspoons is poison to every single cell in your body, okay? So you can imagine that's not a good thing. So high blood sugar is bad, not only because you get a diagnosis of diabetes and have to see me all the time, but it's because it's poisonous to your body. So just a quick set our minds, the amount of sugar in a soda, roughly about 14 to 15 teaspoons equivalent for your blood. For a bagel, roughly about 14 to 15 teaspoons sugar, okay? For a whole wheat piece of bread, roughly about 4 to 5 teaspoons, okay? Your whole wheat piece of bread that you were like so awesome about, okay? And then a piece of chicken, even if you took the chicken thigh with the skin on it, is 0, all right? So just let that kind of sink in a little. So now I'm going to explain why this is the #1 most important thing you need to know about weight management and the key to an expanding waistline. So if you look over at the person eating carbs, okay, it's sugar and carbs, starchy carbs. This person eats some carbs, and what happens? Your blood sugars spike up, right? So let's say you eat a piece of bread, and let's just say that was the 5 teaspoons. And 1 teaspoon is now being used by your body, but the other 4 teaspoons need to come out of the blood, right? Because it's poisoning your cells. So what does your body do? Your body pumps out insulin. And what's insulin's job? Insulin is king in the body. When it's around, everybody listens. All the cells listen to insulin, and what insulin says is, cells, whatever you're doing, stop burning anything else other than the sugar in the blood now. You have to burn the sugar now and bring down that blood sugar level. So what happens? All the fat burning stops, of course, and your muscles, your fat cells, everything wants to start absorbing that sugar. It can't burn more than 1 teaspoon. So unless you just worked out, your muscles are already pretty full. So where is one place on your body where you have infinite storage? The fat cells around our waist, right? And we can grow those really large, okay? So what insulin does is it stops fat burning and it causes fat stores to grow, Really important. Problem is, as we get older, our body becomes sloppy with this insulin. Okay, so instead of just pumping out exactly what you need, it sort of goes overboard and it dumps a ton out into your bloodstream. So now your blood sugars plummet because there's so much insulin, all the sugar gets sucked out of your blood, and now you're tired because your body is starving, because it can't access fat while there's high levels of insulin, so it can't even burn fat. Even though you have all the storage of energy, you can't access it. So while insulin levels are high, you cannot go into fat burning. So you get the munchies, and where do we go? We go to the break room and usually either drink or eat some carbs. And now you're on that insulin roller coaster. The good news, your body starts in a perfect state every morning, all right? In a natural fasting state, your body doesn't feel too hungry or too full. Most people can skip breakfast and they feel just fine, okay? And most of the time when we wake up in the morning, we're not throwing our partner out of the way to get to the fridge as fast as we can to eat, but we haven't eaten for a long time. What happened? Overnight, our body, the blood sugars dropped down, and your insulins were still high, but guess what? You didn't get up to go eat, so your insulin had a chance to come down. When your insulin level is low, your body loves to burn that fuel as fat. Okay, so now it's burning fat. That's why our favorite time to weigh ourselves is in the morning, because we weigh less, right? Because we've been burning some fat overnight. So when you wake up in the morning with the low insulin level, your body can see all the fat it has on the body, so it doesn't feel hungry because it knows, I got enough here. Okay, so I think this is a really important thing to know is you feel right in the morning because you're in a fat burning state. So how can we maintain that fat burning mode, all right, that ideal metabolism? Well, you got to eat real foods, but I tell my patients 5 rules. Number 1, drink a lot of fluids, okay, water. You know you've had enough water if your urine is clear, okay? If it's dark, you haven't had enough water. I don't care how many cups it is. A lot of people say, well, I can only drink 5 cups. That's fine. Make sure your urine is relatively clear. Number 2, green leaves. You got to have at least 2 handfuls of green leaves every day. They are antioxidants, fiber, minerals, etc. You need the green leaves, and you can have infinite amounts. You need at least 2. Number 3, you need to have colorful veggies. And I tell people, including the green leaves, you should have a total of 3 different colors of veggies, okay? That gives your body a variety of antioxidants with which it can repair any of the damage that happens to your body. Number 4, protein. Every cell in your body is made of protein. That means anytime you are repairing, your cells are turning over, you're creating new cells, you need protein. If you don't give your body good protein, guess what? You're not gonna have very good cells. And then we already learned number 5, avoid foods with high carbs and sugars. I would have number 6 up there, which is eat until you're no longer hungry. Instead of eating until you're full, eat until you're no longer hungry. In Okinawa, they say you stop eating after you're 80% full, okay? 5 tips for systems, real quick. These are really easy to implement. They don't require major changes in your office or equipment. Number 1 is sugar-sweetened beverages. If you provide beverages on site, get rid of the ones that have sugar in them, or only offer the really tiny ones. Have a water bubbler / cooler, usually in a place that people want to go. I don't know why, it's always by the bathroom, okay? But if you have it in a nice central location people can walk to. Number 2, you could have easy access to healthy foods, snacks, maybe a company garden if you have that luxury. 3rd, you can have lunch and learns where people are actually thinking about and sharing what they learn about health, or have a weekly healthy recipe contest. This works really well with my nursing staff because they have some amazing recipes that they are so eager to share. And then number 4, policy. In my medical practice, some of our patients have amazing cooking abilities and they bring in their amazing baked goods, all right? If we put them on the tabletop, we are eating them within 30 minutes and they're gone, okay? If we put them in a cabinet out of sight, only the people who are deliberately choosing to eat that food will go open the cabinet and eat the food, okay? So you're not creating this problem where you have to try and resist. And then number 5, make sure there's time carved out for a true lunch. A lot of people work through lunch. I have definitely done that. And what happens? By the end of the day, you're grumpy, you're eating whatever you can get your hands on, and you're thinking you're too tired to exercise or be physically active. So I'm out of time, so I'm just going to go real quick through the relaxation. Thank you for sticking with me. There's 3 elements of relaxation. Relaxation for the individual and system support for relaxation. Elements of relaxation, I think a lot of people forget how to relax because I have many of my patients stressing out that they're not relaxing right, okay? It's supposed to take a little bit of time. It should require free choice, and it should be a period of rest where you're not trying. So if it's a checkbox item, like I have to rest today, that doesn't count, okay? I have patients telling me that they're not able to meditate appropriately and they're stressing out because they can't clear their mind. I'm like, you've just made this non-meditative, okay? So remember, for an individual, this requires personal time, connection, and rest. Those all count as relaxation. You have to carve out and protect your personal time. So in my Google Calendar, I actually block out chunks of time that will be specifically for me to do whatever I feel like at that moment. Move your body daily, as Jeff had already talked about. It relieves your body from the damaging effects of stress, and it floods your brain and body with happy chemicals. Our body was not meant to endure constant stress without breaks. All right, we went out for the kill, came home, sat around the campfire, and ate together until it got dark out. All right, together with our community. All right, remember, physical activity helps relieve some of that. And then we're bombarded with information now. And I like to make sure that I tell my patients there's different ways you can manage things. And some things you can control, like what you put in your body, who you hang out with socially. But some things you can't control, like the stressors at work about somebody else. And then you can just let that go. That's really not your business. The important thing to recognize with relaxation is people who are great know when and how to turn on and off the effort. There's a great example out of the Harvard Business Review. Jack Nicklaus, many of you may have known, was reportedly one of the best golfers of all time. And he would hit a shot and then completely relax, talk to people, walk around, casually make his way to the next tee. And when it was time to take his next shot, he would turn on his A game. All right? So the capacity to do your best and then rest is what makes you great at what you do. So it's okay to be type A, but remember to turn off your phone some of the times. All right, remember connection. Again, this can be spiritual, this can be religious, connecting with other individuals, connecting with your pet, nature, whatever it is. You got to have that ikigai, right? The reason for living, the sense of purpose. And then rest. Get a lot of people talking to me about sleep. They come in, Dr. Parrella, I cannot sleep. So remember, sleep, you have to think about duration, quality, and routine. And remember that needs change throughout a lifetime. Okay, so periods of tremendous brain growth or tremendous rapid learning, like toddlers, adolescents, they need more sleep. If you're sick, if you're not taking time to relax, you need more sleep. If you travel across time zones or you do shift work, you need more sleep. The cool thing is, you can actually decrease your sleep needs because it becomes more efficient if you're fit. So fitness matters on so many levels. You see, we keep coming back to this. The sleep cycle is 90 minutes. If you don't get enough sleep, you are going to gain weight. So the 3 sleep rules I tell my patients: consistently allow 7.5 hours of sleep per night. That does not mean you have to actively be sleeping, but you need to block that chunk of time. You should prioritize and plan for it, have a routine, be consistent. Now, I work with a lot of people who are very successful and travel around the world, and they say, yeah, that's not happening for me. All right, I have an irregular sleep schedule. I'm like, I totally hear you. I'll be on call, or when I had small babies, etc. You want to take the average of 5 days. It doesn't have to be 7.5 hours every single night, but you have to make up the time. And the longer you go without making up the time, you might actually need to give more time back to make it equivalent. And then remember to schedule your wake up during your lighter sleep times. So there's fitness apps, those watches now that kind of monitor your sleep cycles. You can actually have, some of them will have an alarm clock which will recognize within 30 minutes of when you set your alarm, when your lightest sleep cycle is, and it'll wake you up at that time. It's outstanding. I love it. All right, so like I said, within a system, basically you have to create a community and you have to support the individuals at work. And
I think
we're going to wrap it up. Okay. Okay. All right. I'm going to pass this on.
So, I'll go over this real quick. So just kind of the 5-step process to getting people, your employees, to engage, right? So you want to do some sort of assessment. What do your employees need? What do they want, right? You don't just want to throw out a program, right, that you think might be good for them. So doing some sorts of needs assessment. And again, there's a lot of resources out there that are free that can do this. Consulting in evidence-based resources. So again, lots of resources out there. You want to make sure it's credible information and you're developing a good, credible program. You want to get employees to engage, right? You want to get them to participate, create a council, a wellness council, get your champions, get people from HR, all right, from different areas, safety on that council, and then get them planning. Get them to develop a budget, right? It may not be big to begin with, but a small budget. And then what are they going to do each month? Maybe we'll just start out with a monthly thing. Recognize and reward achievements. So again, using different things to recognize your employees and reward them for the improvement, right, of their lifestyles. And then evaluating, right? Evaluation of the program is essential, all right? You can't just do the same thing year after year after year. You have to see how, evaluate what the lunch and learn was like, what sorts of things are the employees getting from this. So looking at those assessments, evaluating, and then reevaluating, and then adjusting your program. Again, just kind of ensuring success. So when we're looking at success, right, we have to remember, right, that the first thing is it may not be about the dollars right away, right? All right, we want to promote these environments, right, and these positive aspects. Again, it takes quite a while, right, to see that return on investment, maybe 3-4 years. Again, use the community services that are around you, right? A lot of them are free, inexpensive. You may be able to work out, business deals within each other and within each business. So use each other, right? Connect with each other. Again, leadership is super important, right? You have to get that buy-in from leadership and key stakeholders. And then small steps, right? We talked about, I talked about those 8, that comprehensive program, right? It might just be starting with physical activity and nutrition. And that may be a great start.
All right, so thank you. So we're going to just summarize here. Basically, what we wanted to get across is I think we all have the goal for wellness, longevity, and to be peak performers for as long as possible. So it's important to invest in wellness because it does impact individuals and systems, and it's really important to plan for it. It really requires these 3 essential pillars: physical activity, nutrition, and relaxation. And if you take care of all 3 of those pillars and you plan for it and you take care of them, you're going to feel good. You're going to have the best chance for a healthy life.
Again, some of the resources, right? The American Heart Association, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, the Blue Cross Blue Shield. So a lot of your insurance providers, right, will have wellness. The National Wellness Institute, and then Healthy People 2020. So there's a lot of, again, information out there on workplace wellness, implementing programs, and ways that you can do that with free resources.
Okay, well, thank you so much. That was the end of our presentation. We'd be happy to take any questions. Yes. The question is about vitamins and supplements. Right, we didn't have enough time. Yes. Yes. So the question is about nutrition and carbs and proteins, and is there any information about fats? So this is a very controversial area, all right? Actually, a study just came out today saying that saturated fats are not so bad for you, but whatever. The data is constantly changing, And depending on who you talk to, they will have different opinions on this. Current guidelines, for example, from the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association, recommend decreasing saturated fats, but there are very good fats for you as well. So the literature continues to change, and I actually tailor my recommendations based on individual people's metabolic health. So I look at the whole picture and then I make the adjustment. Yes.
These drastically low carb, no carb diets,
Yes, ketogenic diets.
are they advisable? Like no fruits, no.
So the question is, with really severely restricted carbohydrate diets, where you have to eliminate a lot of the carbs, including fruits and anything with sugar, obviously, and carbohydrates, is that advisable? And again, long term. So again, this depends on the individual. And I used to hate getting that kind of answer. But for example, somebody who has a seizure disorder, being on, that would be called a ketogenic diet, a very, very low carb, that actually prevents seizures and lowers that chance of having a seizure. So it's actually a great treatment. It's also very helpful for individuals who have diabetes, for example, and their sugars are completely out of control and they don't want to be on insulin. So, for example, I've had a patient who was on over 200 units of insulin a day, and her A1C, which marks how well she's doing, was in the double digits, which means not good. I had her go not as low as ketogenic, but I had her reduce her carbohydrate intake, and she's no longer needing a walker. She does not take insulin anymore. Her A1C is as if she doesn't have diabetes. So is it advisable? For some people, it's the appropriate thing, and other people, it wouldn't be. So somebody with an autoimmune disorder, I might not tell them to restrict their fruit. I might have some other recommendations.
I just wanted to say thank you so much to everybody who's involved today and to our speakers.